from one inspiring NFT project that is just being born to an NFT project that has been around for, well, actually a series of NFT projects, an umbrella of NFT projects that has been around for quite a while. TokenSmart was the conglomerate of NFT projects. I remember when the server first started and there were like channels everywhere for every imaginable project under the sun. And with me now is Rizzle, who has helped make the TokenSmart server like the place to be, because wherever Rizzle is the place to be. Welcome, my friend.
Yo, Sparrow, thank you so much. It's like an honor to be here. We go way back. We've done some podcasts together. We were on like the OG Scent crew together and everything. So it's just so cool to be a part of like everything that's been going on in this space. And appreciate the kind words about TokenSmart. I mean, TokenSmart really got started in its current format with the whip. And for people who aren't familiar with the whip, it's basically been a weekly meetup that's been going on for over a year now in multiple virtual settings. And we sort of have like a rapid fire program each week of different speakers from different projects that are NFT related or crypto related. And, 5-6 minutes talking about their project. We do some light Q&A. And this was a concept that really took off. And before long, we were layering on like musical pre-parties from musicians who were doing audio-based NFTs. We started gamifying a lot of these things, doing scavenger hunts in all these virtual worlds, and giving out NFTs as prizes and social tokens. And a lot of people who were starting their own social tokens or were starting up creating NFTs wanted to use these events as vehicles to, spread the word of their own stuff that they were working on. And so, like I was saying, this grew very rapidly to the point where there just wasn't enough time in the day to cram, people onto the whip. It started to become very bloated, and the spillover started falling into TokenSmart, which sort of became like a event hub of sorts in the metaverse. And so a lot of these projects that had started to become featured on the whip as just like one-offs, 5 minutes here and there, now have weekly events in TokenSmart. And then we've done a lot of different launch parties for different projects. And sort of the purpose of TokenSmart, like Sparrow was saying, I work for NFT 42. It's a parent organization of Avastars, TokenSmart, Infinity Tokens, amongst several other projects. And TokenSmart has always been sort of meant to be like the community outreach arm where, it does give us a platform to present our own projects, but we also wanted to be, position ourselves sort of as like a hub in the space where people can learn about interesting projects that have also been like vetted in some way by people in the community who have been around for a while. The nucleus of the TokenSmart community is very knowledgeable in the crypto and NFT space and has been in it for a very long time. So there have certainly been people and projects who have come across our plate that, may not have made it or may not have been like the greatest thing, but that gets quickly vetted by our community, and the discussion goes on long after people come and pitch or launch their projects, whether or not, people think this is viable or makes sense or is just a quick money grab. And so it's fun. So, as the space has grown significantly, we've leaned more towards the entertainment side of the NFT space rather than like the deep educational content. And that's sort of become the niche that we've evolved into. I wanted to do a little screen sharing before I go any farther. I got, just to give people an idea of what we're talking about when we're saying virtual meetups. I never do this, so you gotta like bear with me here. Let's see. Please cooperate. Okay, I think I'm doing it. Now you're in a vortex, right?
Yep.
Now you should be seeing a Twitter feed, if I did this correctly. Okay,
Yep.
so, all right, I did it. All right, so this is just a snapshot from one of the WHIP meetups. So you get an idea of what these virtual events are. So we host these things, these virtual events, many per week. There's actually one going on right now. I'll try and give you guys like a peek of what a live one looks like in a few minutes. But so we've hosted many of these virtual events per week. We stream them through our Discord so that even if people aren't next to a computer and can't hop in world, you can at least like hop in and listen through our Discord channel and see the chat that's going on concurrently. And in that way, a lot of people can lurk basically and feel like they're a part of it, even if they don't have a computer right in front of them. And Crypto voxels, which this is a picture of, is actually fairly user-friendly for most people's PCs and laptops and everything. But as we do things in Decentraland and some of these other virtual worlds that are a little bit more intense for the computer hardware, it becomes a little bit more difficult for people to get in. So a lot of people like to lurk. So we broadcast the audio through our Discord into these virtual worlds. And all of these things that you see in this picture are essentially NFTs. The outfits that people are wearing are all NFTs that have been purchased in one way or another, either on the open marketplace in OpenSea or directly from the artist. You can see pictures on the walls. We've done a lot of these events in virtual art galleries or just places that are hanging virtual art on the walls. So we've done showcases for a lot of different virtual auctions and art shows, that kind of thing. And if it looks wacky, it's because it is. It's a great time to for people to sort of flex their weirdness. When we started these things, hang on, I'm going to try and get out of this screen share so I can eventually get to the next one. All right, I'm back. So when we started these things, the wearables, as you would call them, were exceptionally affordable to create and purchase. I mean, if you had the time and dedication, you could make a really cool shirt and run off 100 copies of it and give them away to all your friends for like $10 or something like that. All it would take is like the love and time to design these things. And so when we originally started these meetups, the wearables were flying around, and it was a really fun period of time where there was a lot of crazy experimentation going on and people just creating like the wildest stuff. And we've had like virtual fashion shows and, wearable sales where people make, custom lines of clothing and everything. Unfortunately, in recent times, gas prices, the transaction fees have gone up to the extent that you got to really love what you're making and buying in order to make it, worthwhile. It's not quite the wild west of wearable experimentation, although I know we're working on solutions to get back to that point. So anyway, these became these professional meetups of, crypto savvy NFT OGs, very legitimate projects in the space, quickly dovetailed into really wacky, self-expressive events that got music layered onto them. Like I was saying, fashion shows, people would show up every week, changing their outfits, bringing new stuff just to see what was going on. And it sort of just became this, interesting, NFT community, cultural phenomenon that evolved that spilled over into TokenSmart, which is essentially what TokenSmart is to this day, a 100x version of the whip going on what feels like 24/7. And it's fun. So as the NFT space has exploded, we've got a lot of different content going on there on any given week. We have multiple what we call podcast listening parties on there, which my co-host Matt, who I've been hosting podcasts with for a long time, has claimed us to be the original podcast listening party creators. I have no idea if that's true or not, but someone wants to contest, if someone doesn't want to contest that, I'll take credit for it, but I'm not convinced that it's 100% our thing. But we've been releasing podcasts talking about NFTs for almost 2 years now, probably, and found out that people wanted a gathering point to just sort of hang out and listen to them together. And so we started having, what we called podcast listening parties in our Discord. And we basically, when we dropped the podcast, we started playing that live for people, and a bunch of people hang out, listen to it at the same time, and then they can chat about it in the chat box and drop goofy GIFs and make fun of us, if we say something dumb. And that also became an interesting community event that we started layering things on top of. And now our podcast listening parties have like music intros and live music sometimes, and a giveaway ahead of time. And all of these like interesting experiments we started having other things layered on to them. And so now we just have a giveaway event once per week. Sometimes we give away some of our own stuff. Sometimes we get a sponsor who just has a project. They want to get it in front of a bunch of eyeballs. So they're like, Wax did it with us the other week. They're like, we're doing a Street Fighter drop. You guys want to give away some Street Fighter packs? And like, who doesn't want to be the person who just like gives away stuff? So like, yeah, man. And then, tell the community, hey, we got free stuff. Y'all want free stuff? Here's free stuff. Yeah. And so we make that like fun and wacky too. And so we do like Twitter competitions. Avistar is under our brand name. And so they all look weird. They're like profile pictures. They don't all look weird, but a lot of them look weird.
They do all look weird.
They all look, yeah, right. Weird enough that you can come up with like a creative narrative about them, right? And so all of them have like unique looks to them. And so we put out a contest each week that's been going on, in a tweet, make a poem or a, story about them or something. And then we've been giving away an Avistar each week or some other stuff. And then we read all the entries live in our Discord, and that's become like a fun thing. And now people try to like, submit entries that make us sound stupid when we read them off, or like, throw in like a tongue twister, or like incorporate myself. Sandy Meows is our community lead, who I work very closely with, and she rocks and is a very good sport about getting rolled into many of these stories that are doing so. So I don't know, Sparrow. I mean, I've become, sort of the de facto leader or co-leader of this like really wacky community that has really spun out of one of these things that you were a part of, in the very ground floor, and have been building up a lot of very similar things in your own right. I mean, you attend the whip, very often. You might be the record holder. I was just on DeFi Dad's program, and if it's not him, it's you. And and you might be tied. Either way, you're in like Hall of Fame territory when it comes to the whip. Dude, I would love to like hear your perspective, like the bird's eye view from the outside, in terms of like how you've seen the whip progress over time, and TokenSmart. And sometimes I'm so buried in it, and as the space has evolved so rapidly, it's very difficult to see the forest through the trees at times. So we haven't caught up in a while. I don't know if this is like 100% appropriate, but I would love to like pick your brain while we're doing this and just like hear your thoughts on, the evolution of all of this from your side.
So, this is why you have the job that you have. You just have this natural ability. So you're moderating the moderator, and turn it right around and ask the questions, and but no, just I'm really happy that you're here, and really happy to get a chance to catch up, because I saw this opportunity. I wanted you to be here because I wanted to actually talk to you. So thank you.
I also wanted to stop in and say thank you very much, Rizzle. I love
Yeah, man.
TokenSmart. It's like one of my favorite experiences. And when I talk about experiences in NFTs, like that's really what TokenSmart is all about, is the experiences.
Dude, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate hearing that. We've worked very, very hard and oftentimes get, I think, sort of diminished as goofballs, which we are. But our heart is in the right place, and we do work very hard to, do right by the community and by the space.
So the one thing that you didn't mention, that I found actually really an interesting sort of side offshoot out of the whip was the Meta Olympics.
Yes.
Do you want to mention?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'd love to. Yeah. So again, the experimentation of the whip was never really created with a particular purpose in mind. It was just sort of like a rolling experiment of like, okay, this worked this week. Let's see if we can build upon that next week. Let's try this. Let's see if this happens. We got a good response to this. And so the after party portion of the whip became very fun when we started layering on these like scavenger hunts or like gamifications. There's a lot of like people in the NFT gaming community who were doing things, who wanted to showcase their stuff. And so we were like, okay, instead of just talking about it, let's like get a community competition going on, right afterwards. And so that like took off real quick. I mean, who doesn't want to like, compete with your buddies, talk some smack, and like, with the potential of winning some stuff at the end. And so the idea hatched of, in the spirit of like metaverse and interoperability, the idea hatched of like doing these competitions on a larger scale, and doing this sort of like cross-platform or like platform agnostic or largely platform agnostic as best as we could, and really showcase lots of different cool projects, and people who want to get their stuff out there in a way that's like fun and gamified for the community. And so we built it's like 10 or 12 massive campus in Crypto Voxels. We hired out to Voxel Architects. They did an incredible job, made this huge Olympic campus that has like Mount Metalympics in there. There's a racetrack all the way around the outside. There's a giant whale maze. And for 10 weeks, we sourced 10 different sponsors throughout the NFT community. And big sponsors. Like once people got the concept, a lot of people got really excited about jumping on board. So CryptoKitties sponsored an event. we littered the entire campus. People can check it out. If you go to cryptovoxels.metalympics. It's either .net or .com. It'll drop you in the campus, and the entire campus is still full of CryptoKitties. And there's, I think, 4 of them that have one small differentiating feature than the rest. And so when the event came up, we had 80 or 100 people running around the campus, looking at all these CryptoKitties that were scattered around the place, trying to find the 4 that were different. And they had to take a selfie next to the CryptoKitty that was different and post a screenshot of it on Twitter, tag CryptoKitties and Metalympics to, compete for the prize. And that was one of our most successful ones because CryptoKitties really did it to themselves, to be honest with you. They offered a free CryptoKitty airdrop to anyone who completed the selfie challenge. And we just got totally bombarded with, selfies, selfie posts and everything. And so it's mimicked real life in a lot of ways. We have these events, they're wacky competitions, go into different virtual worlds. We take selfies with each other. It probably sounds really bizarre to people who aren't doing it. We take selfies, we post them online. That gets you rolled into raffles. We get people up on the podiums afterwards. Prizes were sponsored. There's several different virtual worlds, including Decentraland and Sandbox, who sponsored events and had the opportunity to show off, what they bring to the table with their virtual worlds. We were able to get people there by teleporters within the Meta Olympic campus. So it was a truly like metaverse style experience, or we tried to. And so a lot of this occurred after the whip. Meta Olympics season 2 is, or Meta Olympics 2 will in theory be a standalone event that will almost be a whip within itself. So say Sandbox wants to sponsor that week's event, that entire event would be built around them. So they would stock the lineup with their giveaway promo event, speaker lineup, the whole thing, rather than piggybacking off of the whip. Again, because the whip, it started with good intentions and like a very concise, like 35-minute bam, bam, bam event. And then by the time we had, started with the musical pre-party, the whip, the Q&A, the after party, we've got a guy named Sho who does like an after party who, and it's awesome. But he came to us essentially identifying this, void where all these people were hanging out afterwards with nothing to do, and they wanted to talk about what was going on. So we were like, all right, after party now. Like the people are still there. Let's do that too, right? Why not? And that became very popular. So, it's become a challenge in a very good way to keep the momentum going and give all these events and, the sponsors, sponsor these events. We want to do right by them. We want to showcase their stuff properly. This isn't, no one's getting rich off the Meta Olympics right now. This is more an exercise in like building this concept, because what I would love to see is, this sort of OG community stick together, the same people who were involved the first time around, Sandbox, CryptoKitties, Decentraland, so that, a few years out, the Meta Olympics isn't like, it is like wacky and weird, but it's also like, some high stakes. We got the VR stuff on, the competition is ramped up, and, we really kick this thing into high gear because, I feel like if the metaverse is going to be a thing, why wouldn't the Meta Olympics be a thing that, is running, not necessarily running concurrently with the real life Olympics, but with esports being as big as it is, right? Why couldn't this be a cross-platform, platform agnostic, like all-inclusive type of thing going on?
So that's one thing that always sticks out in my mind, especially in the early days of CryptoVoxels, was the whip events that were always pushing the edges of the technology and how much it could cope. And, Ben introduced sharding into CV because there were just so many people turning up for these events, right?
Yeah.
It really is community-driven, community-based initiatives, I think, that drive this technology. It's fascinating to watch, really.
More than that, it's fun to engage with. That's the best part of it. And like as you're describing the crypto kitty hunt, like which one's different, like it just sounds like the best Where's Waldo I've ever heard of.
Right. Dude, and that's we realized very quickly that it doesn't have to be super complicated to be fun. Very, very early on, Marble Cards did a extremely rudimentary like platform hopping thing in CryptoVoxels, where there must have been 24 blocks. You just have to hop from one to the other.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, right. And it wasn't rocket science, but bringing the community together to do that event at the same time, and CryptoVoxels was like much jankier than it was now. So like the difficulty to hop from one platform another was significant. Some people's computers arguably worked better than the others. So it was like, although it appeared to be a very simple task, like, you just go boink, 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 and then you're there. It was like a hilarious comedy of errors, and like, Brian Brinkman's head would get like stuck in the platform for a while, and everybody would laugh at him, and so that was sort of like a light bulb moment, honestly, where we were like, we don't have to like go crazy in terms of like creating, I remember No Shot, Sparrow, I'm sure you remember No Shot's Quest, and that was incredible, right? I mean, and that was like on par with some like, real life like indie video game releases, platform players or whatever, and
months of work, months
oh my
and
God,
months of work for
it
one event.
was. I mean, he could probably re-roll that out now with like a whole fresh crowd that has never seen it before, and capture the same magic all over again. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time with that the people would go nuts over it at this point if he were to like even change up some stuff minimally. So many people haven't seen it.
No, I want the same one so that I know the answers.
Right?
Yeah.
I still am not like totally confident after this much time has gone by that I would place very high, even having been through it once. But he set the bar so high so early on that for a while it was like, who's going to top this? And so the you can't, right? To this day, I don't know that anyone's like really come that close to it. But the Marvel cards thing was sort of a light bulb moment where it was like, it doesn't have to be that complicated. People also aren't that good at these things. So let's just make it fun and wacky and, put some prizes up and, let people know that it's not cutthroat serious and anything can go wrong at any point, and knowing that is part of what you're signing up for. It's been fun. And we continue that sort of mantra to this day in terms of just like trying wacky stuff. I mean, if you guys know of things, we're always interested in things. So hit us up.
Well, it is metagame, so perhaps we have some games that we can work on together. Just to answer the question that you asked me before this all got turned around, my take on the whip really was, it was the one event each week that I could go to, and in half an hour, 40 minutes, right, I could feel caught up with what was going on in this space, right? It just was the one thing that made me feel like I was keeping up to date because of your compressed format. It's brilliant. And it probably still is that. Unfortunately, I have a meeting at the same time every week now. So until that ends, I can't make any of the evening whips on Thursdays.
Unfortunately, that's my pain as well. I was a big Asia whip on Monday midnight. Me.
It's been extremely difficult to have that be the takeaway from the whip each week, if I'm being completely honest with you, with the way that the space has grown. I mean, I feel like that was sort of everybody's catch-up point for a long time, but now it's almost impossible, as I'm sure you guys know. And so now it's sort of become an exercise in featuring the cool projects that come across our lap that we think our audience would be most interested in. The whip does have sponsors in terms of like event sponsors and people who have given us stuff to promote. But in terms of the actual speaker lineup, all that is free. We're not getting paid for people to come on and show their stuff. We genuinely do our best to hand select projects that we think our community would be most interested in. And Sparrow, I didn't try to like totally ram like bulldoze here. I talked to Penguin, and Penguin was like, 30 minutes, TokenSmart. You ready to roll? And I was like, yeah, man, let's roll.
Let's do it. It's the only way to do it, right? You just flow.
Yeah, just came in and started rolling.